Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our all-new PoliticGal segment brought to us by Caldwell Soames, we have Patriot artist Scott LoBaido. Now, for those unfamiliar with Scott, the mainstream media have been shadow banning Scott's main pages and censoring his art and free speech. And for 30 years, Scott LoBaido has been a voice fighting with you on so many issues, promoting and celebrating old glory, those who serve in our great American way, using his art, heart, and passion, advocating as a giant voice for the American people through unusual and at times suspect art. Now, after all these years, his story is being told. The Relentless Patriot is a documentary that's going to take you through Scott's life, from his true American childhood to his start in the arts, his calling to patriotism, his first creative protest, the amazing art he creates to benefit and support our veterans, his many arrests, the 50-state flag painting tours across America, right down to his passionate patriotic canvas and sculpture art. And here to chat patriotism and art is Scott LoBaido. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Thanks for having me.
All right, talk to me about this documentary film, The Relentless Patriot, which is a profile on you. Talk to me about what inspired you and Christopher Martini, your director, to make this film.
It's funny. He came to do an interview for me for a different patriotic documentary he was working on, and we sat here for 2 hours when it was supposed to be 20 minutes because I had him so intrigued. And he said, "The heck with this documentary. I'm doing your documentary." And I was excited about it because I think right now, and the way the world is, and this country is, and what I've done for 30 years, I think it was time because, people are going to say, so he's an artist that paints flags. How can that be interesting? It's more than just painting flags. It's about I'm an activist as well, a pro-American activist, a conservative-leaning Republican activist in New York City, which is the biggest liberal city. So you can imagine what it was like for an artist of my ideology to try to succeed in the art world here. And they threw me out like a leper. They totally just abandoned me because of my ideology and who I am and what I believe in. See, the art world is supposed to be open-minded and tolerant, right? As we know, right? That's what they claim. Except if you're a, straight white, NRA, Second Amendment, NASCAR, Republican, Trump supporter. No way can this guy be an artist. The heck with him. He's out. And this was back in the 90s. And I said, you know what? I don't want you either, because you're a bunch of hypocritical elitists, okay, that you only make somebody a great artist if they succumb to your specific isms in your club. So it's nice that I've kind of succeeded without the blessings of the art world. And that's kind of what it's about, and me fighting the political correctness creatively.
Your art is absolutely fantastic, by the way, and I can't wait to see this film because I think it's going to sum up everything that you've been fighting for all these years. And when you look at some of these statistics, Scott, the very idea of patriotism does risk becoming a partisan marker, because in 2019, 76% of Republicans and only 22% of Democrats said they were extremely proud to be American. And a recent poll asked Americans whether they would fight or flee if the country were invaded. 68% of Republicans said that they would stay and fight, compared with only 40% of Democrats. That's a big difference. What do you say to this?
That's pretty interesting and kind of scary. It's funny when people say, "Scott, we're going to come to a civil war. It's going to be," I said, no. It's if we do come to a civil war, it'll last a half an hour because of what you just said, because of exactly what you just said. And also, Second Amendment, that's on our side. So if there is a civil war, it's going to be over in a half an hour. But it's kind of sad. My great-grandparents came to this country many years ago. And no matter how much they struggled, and they did, as did my grandparents and my parents, but that flag was always up. No matter what struggle they were having, that flag was always up because they knew that they could get better. They could make their lives better, not for them, but for their children. And to see, when I see people desecrate the flag, kneel for on the flag, desecrate the Pledge of Allegiance and the national anthem, and it's these spoiled wealthy, successful people, athletes, millionaires, movie stars, gazillionaires. And if they don't like one thing, the flag is taboo, America sucks. It's not like that. That's what makes this country great. We're only 246 years old. We are a puppy on this stage. That's what I love about it, is that, look, the black community, the gay community. Yes, it took a long time, but you fight for something and you get what you fight for. But when you do fight for something in this country, like I do, nobody has fought more and expressed my grievances against the government, both local and the big government. Nobody more than me. But every time I protest, and there's been thousands of them, that American flag is with me, because that is the one thing, that beautiful, beautiful work of art. The American flag is the one thing that gives you the right to express your grievances.
Well said.
Boggles my mind.
And no, but listen, Scott, it's the truth. And if you look at conservatives, Republicans, they often say that liberals don't really like this country. And the figures, the statistics we were talking about just earlier really does suggest that they have a point there, because in progressive circles, claiming patriotism, like I said, is at best an eyebrow raiser. What? You're a patriot? And as the 246th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence arrived in a country with the world's highest incarceration rate, sky high per capita carbon emissions, an epidemic of gun violence that's just disgusting, and abortion bans across much of the American map, obviously there is progressive disgust that kind of has its merits, and that's hard to argue. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, it's very simple. Okay, the reason we are like this right now, okay, it's one reason is that the left, the radical progressive left, 5-10 years ago, took it to the stratosphere. This country goes like this. We go left, like in the 70s, we were a little more lefty, a little more freedom and all of that stuff. And then in the 80s, we got a little more conservative. But you see my hands? You can see both my hands. That's how this works. The left took it to the stratosphere. And what did they do? They woke up the beast. They woke up middle America. Now, people think, and all these liberal pockets in these big cities, there's 10 million here, 8 million there, 20 million there, maybe 40 million. There's 350 million people that are the gears. These are the gears that keep this great machine going. And that is middle America. Not necessarily conservative, but just regular people. And the left went out of control and they woke up the beast. And they woke up the beast. They're not going to sit down.
No, they're not. They're not going to wait. They're going to keep going. And we have about 4 minutes left, and I want to make sure we get it all in. When we look at America today, America faces threats to national well-being and even survival. We have climate change, racial inequality, oligarchy, the economic collapse of entire regions. But the enemy is not an invader. These slow-moving crises pit us against one another, spewing our carbon and damaging the earth, living in our economically and ideologically segregated neighborhoods and regions, trading accusations of bigotry and bad faith. Looks like we are one another's problem here, Scott. In your opinion, what do you think the biggest issue currently facing Americans is? You have about 2 minutes.
It's a tough question, because there's so many aspects of why it is. And again, I got to go back to that. We have to have this balance. The radical left, I can't say it enough, they went too far. We need to come back to that balance. We're always going to have discourse. Look, there will always be homophobes, racists, bigots. That is individual. That is the nature of humanity. It is not systemic. And the media and the radical left and the school systems teach these kids and everybody else and brainwash them that America sucks, it's bad, it's oppressive, and it's out of control. The left across the board, media, big tech, the politicians have to bring it down, and we can get back to a basic level where we used to be. Not perfect. It's not supposed to be perfect. If it was perfect, I would leave the planet. This is sexy. That keeps us alive and keeps our brains working when we have discourse. But at this point, it's horrible. And there's one side that doesn't understand what they're doing wrong, and they have to. And when they do, we'll get back to normal.
True, very true. And I love it that you are using your art to really display your emotions here with respect to patriotism, because you convey so much meaning in one piece of art. And I know it takes you a long time to really curate and put that together, but you should definitely consider running for office. At the end of the day, when you look at this, by the same token, right? Peaceful political change, Scott, is much harder among people who fear and mistrust one another, like we do right now in America. People who feel it intolerable for the other side to hold power. And only a quarter of Republicans and only about 2/5 of Democrats believe the other party's voters sincerely have the country's best interests at heart. So on the whole, Americans suspect that they live among people who are trying to destroy the country and quite possibly to destroy them. And to your point, in a democracy, even a flawed one, patriotism supports our best chance to live as equals without a doubt. So thank you for bringing that to the platform.
Patriotism, a patriotic community, is a prosperous community.
Guys, please check him out on the gram at Scott LoBaido. Check out his film, The Relentless Patriot. That was our PoliticGal segment, brought to you by Caldwell Soames. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.